right, everybody, welcome to College Pete and Andy's University Generosity Bracketology. What that means is that College Pete and I are going to break down the entire NCAA men's basketball field, not in order of how well these teams do athletically, but in order of how these colleges do financial aid-wise and the cost of attendance. Cost of attendance includes not just tuition, but it's everything. Books, travel, room and board, all in. College Pete, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go. So we are starting with the Midwest region, and we have the first matchup, Kansas and Lehigh. Lehigh meets 100% of financial need. That is a very important thing to understand. Big upset in the first round. Look, we have Lehigh going all the way because if you look at this top bracket, the top half of this Midwest region, Lehigh is the only school that meets 100% of need. Again, we're looking at these matchups not based on basketball talent, even though we are basketball fans. We are looking at this purely based on financial aid generosity. So, in the top half,
which is as good of a way to look at it as any secretary or anyone else in the office does to follow basketball.
Indeed. So we have Lehigh going to the Elite Eight. Moving our way down, we have not so much of a surprise, Georgetown. Not only are they an impressive basketball school, but they also meet need 100%. And on average, 73% of that need is met with grants as opposed to loans and work study and so forth. So we do have Georgetown moving on. Another just notable upset, we have UC Santa Barbara over Ohio State. The Gauchos coming in at 82% need met, 70% of which is gift aid. Let's move on to the East bracket. Andy.
All right, let's break this down. I actually am picking Wake Forest to advance past Kentucky. Wake Forest carries a heavy sticker price of $54,226. That's one of the 5 50,000-plus schools in the East and South brackets, which I'll be doing also. But they meet a 100% of need, so I'm going with Wake Forest over there. And then if you look further, big, it's huge.
Huge.
And if you, well, listen, I mean, it's one thing to be concerned with containing John Wall and Cousins, but it's another thing to be concerned with how you're going to pay for college.
Right.
Exactly. So then we got Cornell advancing past Temple, and they're going to be also defeating the winner of Wisconsin-Wofford. I'm picking. I'm actually, you know, Pete, I double thought this. I'm going to pick Wofford over Wisconsin, but it doesn't really matter, even though Wofford does meet a significant amount of financial aid, 88%. They're still going to end up losing to Cornell, which is a very expensive school, a $50,000 plus per year college. But because of their financial aid generosity, they're going to go past Wofford and meet Wake Forest and defeat Wake Forest in the Elite Eight.
Okay, we move to the bottom half of the East bracket.
All right, let's break this one down, Lenardi style. This, by the way, this was the stingiest part of the East bracket. The two regions, Buffalo and San Jose, all those schools, Washington and Clemson, they meet on average very low percentages of financial aid. Clemson is about the best. They will meet 74%. That's why I'm picking them to advance to defeat Washington. I have Washington advancing only because they're more cheap than New Mexico, but not a lot of financial aid at any of those schools or these regions. So Clemson will advance to the Elite Eight.
Clemson moving on to the Elite Eight. Let's move on to the West. We have some real good schools in this bracket, not only from a basketball point of view, but also from a financial aid generosity standpoint. Syracuse over Vermont. Syracuse meets 95% of need on average. You're going to get a good financial aid package at Syracuse, even though it has a very high sticker price, well in excess of $50,000 there. Gonzaga,
and even though they're kind of limping into the postseason.
Indeed, that's right, heading out west after the Big East tournament loss. Gonzaga over our home state, Florida State, and the main reason for that is the edge that Gonzaga, the Bulldogs, and not to be confused with the Zags. People tend to misidentify these guys, but they've been great for many years now, and they also are a very generous school up in Washington State, 87% of need met. I do have Syracuse over Gonzaga. Down in the bottom half there, I have Butler over UTEP. This was a tough matchup. Butler and UTEP. Butler only meeting 78% of need, the Bulldogs, but UTEP, the Miners, meet 81%. The reason why I chose Butler is because their need met is 62% grants and scholarships as opposed to UTEP's. They're going to meet a higher percentage of need, but it's going to be much more in the form of loans because only 44% of that is going to be scholarship money. And then, of course, Vanderbilt. They are my favorite going through this pack, this half of the West region, because Vanderbilt is, while it has a high sticker price of $58,000, it's going to meet need 100%.
I would think
100%.
Vanderbilt might be the most expensive school in the whole tournament.
I think they are, yes. Vanderbilt could be the most expensive school in the tournament. Getting into the next half of the West bracket, we have Xavier losing to Minnesota. Xavier being a private school, I thought maybe they would come out with the edge over the Golden Gophers, but no.
I know.
I have Minnesota. Interesting, too, about Minnesota. Neighboring states with Minnesota, they have reciprocity. So if you live in a neighboring state, you may be able to get in-state tuition at the University of Minnesota.
That really is interesting.
Okay, down at the bottom half of that, I got Florida over BYU. Now, this was a tough call for me because BYU is a rather inexpensive university. If you are not a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints, then BYU only costs $8,580.
Interesting.
Very low tuition for BYU. And yet, Florida meets a higher percentage of need at 83%, very high for a state university. I have Florida moving on, as well as beating North Texas, but I do have them falling short against Minnesota. Let's move to the South.
No surprises here. I've got Duke advancing all the way. Duke is a very expensive school, coming in at a whopping estimated $54,956 for 1 year of education. That's tuition, room and board, and so forth. However, they also are a very generous school, meeting 100% of financial need, and the average gift aid that they give out, the free stuff, is about 85%. So they're going to advance. California happens to be a very expensive school too. Berkeley, that's also in the $50,000 range, believe it or not, for 1 year of college there. But they're not. They're going to fall to Duke because of the Duke endowment. And then I've got the Boilermakers advancing also because even though they're in an expensive college, they will meet 95% of financial aid. So Duke is going to face off and beat Purdue into the Elite Eight in this half of the bracket. All right, we've only got 2 minutes left here. I'm just going to rip this off right here. Notre Dame, very generous, expensive school, but they will meet 100% of need. Down in the lower portion of this bracket, I've got a little bit of an upset here. I've got Richmond ultimately advancing over Villanova. The Spiders will meet 100% of need, and most of that money to the tune of, let me see here, 89.9%, according to our research, is free grant money that never has to be repaid. So I'm going to end up picking Richmond to advance all the way and defeat Notre Dame.
So next slide is our final 4 picks, the College Pete and Andy University Generosity Bracketology. We've got Georgetown, Vanderbilt, Cornell, and Duke, 4 schools that meet 100% of financial need. If you're smart enough to get into these schools, hopefully you're not going to pay so much to be able to get your college education.
You're also looking at about $800,000 worth of college costs right there among those 4 schools. All right, if anyone on watching this video wants to learn how they can defeat the high costs of college, Pete and I have written a book called Never Pay Retail for College, and there's a website. Oh, time is running out here. So click on that. There's a special offer, neverpayretailforcollege.com, and thank you for watching.